Okay, so this episode is titled On Leather Wings. Came out September 19th, 1992. It was produced by Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm, directed by Kevin Autieri, written by Mitch Bryan. Honorable mentions for Mitch Bryan. 12 episodes of Batman the Animated Series he wrote, including Pretty Poison, POV, Vendetta, Cat Scratch Fever, Harley and Ivy, The Man Who Killed Batman, Trial, Bane, Make 'em Laugh, Catwalk, and Bullet for Bullock. Just reading those titles of those episodes, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to watch this show because there's so many good episodes there. We in this episode we have featuring voice actors Kevin Conroy as Batman and Bruce Wayne, Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon, Richard Mole as Harvey Dent, and the security guard and the Bat computer in this episode. Then we got Lloyd Bochner as Mayor Hamilton Hill, Robert Costanza as Detective Harvey Bullock, Clive Revel as Alfred Pennyworth, Mark Singer as Man-Bat, and Kirk Langstrom, and Renee Auberjonois. Oh man, I knew I was going to fuck this up.
Are you all right today? You having a stroke?
It's hard to say this name. Renee Auberjonois. Yeah, Auberjonois.
Aubergine
as Dr. March. Now, and then we've also got Pat Music as female lab technician and Meredith McRae as Francine Landstrom. Now, honorable mentions for some of those voice actors. I'll start with Renee Auberjonois, which is weird, but I'll tell you why. So sadly, he passed away in 2019, so it's very recent. He was the Reverend in the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson, which I'm sure doesn't spring to mind for you just yet. He was also Odo in Star Trek. And then the one that you'll know him as is he's Dr. Larry Myers in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
What episode he's in, then I'll know what doctor he is. They see a plethora of doctors in that show.
They do. Well, now I'm just going to have to go back in here. This is fun.
I'll sing the Batman songs as you do it. Me, 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 me. You're probably listening to this and doing your grocery shopping. Or maybe you're driving to work. Or you're just chilling with a glass of wine. And work is done. It's the weekend.
He is in... Well done, that was good timing. The Gang Gets a New Member. So the one with Smitty.
Smitty, the Ted Lasso.
Yeah. And he's in that episode as Dr. Larry Myers. Then we got Clive Revel as Alfred Pennyworth. Now, obviously, this is not the Alfred we're used to. This was the Alfred they first went with. Kind of like Tim Curry. They had a first choice and they ended up not working out and then they replaced them. So, honorable mentions for Clive Revel. He's Doctor Doom in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, the video game. So that's kind of cool. And he's Emperor Palpatine in The Empire Strikes Back. He's the first Emperor that shows up in that hologram that obviously is now replaced. So, Clive Revel, what do you think of his Alfred Pennyworth?
I think it would have been absolutely fine.
I agree.
But we know that the other version is really, really good. And obviously it's because it's a part of our childhood. And the Drew You a Bath and all that stuff, it's great.
Yeah, well, so Ephraim Zimbalist, obviously, I drew you a bath. He says that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the other guy.
No, it doesn't matter. But, Ephraim's amazing. But I think I think Clive Revel's okay. He's no Tim Curry Joker.
He had one line that cracked me up. That was very Alfred in this.
Do you remember what it was?
Oh, what was it? It was, he was something when he was listening to the bat screeching noises on the bat computer, and he was like, "Taking up rock and roll, sir."
Yeah, I like that. That was good. We got Robert Costanza as Detective Harvey Bullock. Honorable mentions for him is Harry in Total Recall. He's also Sergeant Vito Lorenzo in Die Hard 2. And he's a paint store customer in the movie Saturday Night Fever. So not lots, but some few notable films at least that he's had little cameos in. Some more honorable mentions. Richard Mole as Harvey Dent, and he is also the security guard and the Bat computer in this episode. He's obviously the Scorpion in Spider-Man the Animated Series. So the same guy who does the voice of Harvey Dent and Two-Face is the voice of Scorpion. He's the Hell House ghost in Scary Movie 2, which I was like, whoa, when I started to remember that.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Right? And that movie was making fun of that film, The Haunting, with what's his face? Liam Neeson, thank you.
And wow.
Oh, yeah, and Owen
Wilson. Wow.
Yeah. And then he's also the voice of the Abomination in the Incredible Hulk cartoon in the 90s. And he is the villain Dementor in Jingle All the Way. He is Doberman's arch nemesis.
Yes, he is.
He's on the TV right at the
Yep.
beginning of that movie. That's Richard Mole. I was like, oh shit, that's crazy.
Yeah,
He's
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Then Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon sadly passed away in 2014. He was the voice of Judge in Mafia 2, the video game, and he was a character named Earl in the Incredible Hulk TV show in the 70s, and he was in multiple episodes of Murder, She Wrote.
So my wife has never seen Batman the Animated Series, and she watched this episode with me, and she's like, that's Gordon? I was like, yeah. She was like, Gordon, you can get it. It cracked me up. I was like, Gordon? She's like, I don't know. Look, he's like a big man. He's got a good jawline. Like, he's got nice hair.
He's got a mustache.
She fancies Tom Selleck in Friends.
Does she?
His big tash. And she likes John Hamm. I think she likes like tall, broad-shouldered men. That's why she married a fucking hobbit. But yeah, it's just so funny. She was just like, wow. I mean, Gordon, he can get it.
Good for Gordon.
And I was like, well, I can never not like look at Gordon the same way now, knowing that my wife fancies this cartoon character.
I won't do any honorable mentions for Kevin Conroy because most of his IMDb was just being the voice of Batman and Bruce Wayne, which just goes to show you how definitive this whole journey is for him. And this was the start of it. This is the first time he was ever Batman. So some bat facts for you about this episode. This is the pilot episode of Batman the Animated Series, but it was not the first episode to air. It was actually the second to air, but it was the first to be produced. The first to air was Cat Scratch Fever, that being because they were following Batman Returns and Cat Scratch Fever had Catwoman in it, so they kind of wanted to link up that with Batman Returns, which makes sense. This is the first appearance of Man-Bat outside of the comics ever. He first appeared in the comics in Batman number 400 in June 1970 and was created by Frank Robbins and Neil Adams. So what a character. And obviously very Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde inspired as well. So my first question, as always to you, Bud, is what did you think of this episode?
I think it's a very, very strong start. It's funny that Spider-Man, the animated series, started with the Lizard, which is basically their Man-Bat, the guy who turns into the monster that's a scientist. And I was wondering if they did that on purpose. I have no idea.
Very good point, actually. Yeah, I wonder if it's like an easier story to tell with the monster transformation. It's just like dude transforms into a monster, can't help it.
It's a story. We all know the story of Dr. Jekyl and Mr. Hyde, so it's an easy story to follow along. Again, I watched the show and I'm like, damn, this is like, it's the art style in it is just incredible. The cinematography is really good as well. The pacing, just the mise en scène, as we say.
The mise en scène.
Which just means, vibe, costumes, lighting. It literally just means everything you see on the screen is what mise en scène means.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant in the show. And we were very funny on Spider-Man the Animated Series podcast because there's a lot to make fun of, but it's going to be kind of tough with this one.
I was thinking that. There were a few things that made me laugh in this episode, though, that I picked up on. So, yeah, there is hope. Yeah, because you want to have a laugh, and, like, obviously things can be a bit dated or animation can be a bit weird or quirky. Voice actors can sound funny in some of the things that they do. But, yes, it was so engaging for me that I forgot that I was like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be reviewing this and, like taking notes. I was just wanted to watch it. Mm-hmm. Very Batman Year One with the SWAT team.
With the SWAT team, yeah.
Absolutely. Very old horror movie feel, as we said, Dr. Jekyl, Mr. Hyde, but like that title card at the beginning, like that's such a signature.
It feels like an old like Hammer movie or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how this show adopted that. And when I see those title cards come up and you get the leitmotif of whatever music is created for whatever character. Let's talk about the music. What did you think about the music in this episode?
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It's more Danny Elfman than what eventually it turns into, which I think is more of what's her name again?
Shirley Walker.
Shirley Walker's vibe.
Yes.
Yeah, especially the first song that is playing with like the diddle-it, 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 like that like line there. is so Batman Elfman style.
Absolutely. So it also felt very old black and white horror movie again, with like these strings really like screeching through. And it's got big time Bernard Herrmann vibes to it, who was a major influence on Danny Elfman as a composer. Bernard Herrmann has done so many horror films, one being Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Is it Bernard Herrmann or is it just Bernard Herrmann?
Bernard Herrmann. And obviously, if Elfman is influenced by Herrmann and Shirley Walker is influenced by Elfman, it kind of like, there's that trickle down.
It's like
it's amazing.
I don't know who composed Reanimator, but that guy was a huge Bernard Herrmann fan as well. And you could just hear it in the score. Have you ever heard the score to Reanimator?
No, I don't think I have.
It literally is like the Psycho song, but like changed a little bit. But it's great.
Yeah, I love that style, and it fits so well in this Gotham because it's so dark and it's supposed to be creepy, especially the beginning of this whole episode. What did you think about the beginning of this episode with our introduction to
it
Gotham?
Makes me feel warm and cozy, bud.
Yeah.
So I've drawn Batman this year, and every time I've drawn Gotham City, I've always drawn a police blimp in the background. I did it in Punchline as well, just because that to me is so Batman, but also so Batman the animated series.
Did you pick up that Kevin Conroy is voicing one of the pilots in the blimp?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It was so obvious that it was him. It was like his normal speaking voice that he was doing for that. I saw something. Yeah, I saw it. I swear.
Clouds over there.
That guy's great too. He was like the head of the SWAT. He's like a few voices in this. So yeah, I loved the way Gotham looked in this. The blimp flying up through the clouds looked amazing. The animation, as you were saying, is just jaw-dropping in this show. It's just so good. One of my favorite scenes of animation in this whole episode, and possibly maybe this whole show as we go on, but it really has stood out to me this time, is when Batman is attached to the Man-Bat by his like bat grapple, and they're flying over the city, and they fly over the
blimp.
Past the blimp. It's incredible the way the camera really moves, and it goes into the Man-Bat's face, and then like you see him fly, and then it stays there, and Batman like swells past, and his cape swells as they go over it.
I tell you, one thing I really liked, I don't know why, but when Batman has his like binoculars on and he's picking up the samples of the bat hair, just the way the toothpicks look as it zooms in and the lighting as it turns on it, I was like, how am I excited over fucking like toothpicks and prongers? Like, it's ridiculous.
It's so good, man. Like, I love seeing the detective angle of Batman in the first episode, and they're like, this Batman is not just punching people in the face. You know, this is a Batman. He's the dark detective, and they make that known. I love his gadgets. Do you like his gadgets, his detective gadgets? Of
course. He threw those bat bombs, and I literally just drew them for the Punchline book I'm on. So I was just like,
really?
Hey, cool, I just drew those.
I've got some notes that we'll come back to that because I can't find it right now. But there were some things I picked up in that scene. But I love Sneaky Batman is basically what I wanted to say. Like, Sneaky Batman is my favorite type of Batman. It definitely is. Like him sneaking through the shadows, taking people out, like with his, his gas balls, and like being a detective with his gadgets.
Ninja detective. That's what he is.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's so cool. Okay, so the music at the beginning of this, going back to this, had a very Jaws feel to it as well, because we don't see the creature, but the music makes us fear the creature, right? Like all we see is a shadow of the Man-Bat on the wall. We hear that security guard like recording his voice, which I thought was a really clever bit of like characterization for this guy, because you're like, why is he doing this? Like, yes, you too can be a radio voice personality. And he's like doing this. And that's Richard Mole, by the way. That's the voice of Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Oh, really? It doesn't like sound like him or anything.
Yeah. And then obviously that recorder pays off later, because that's what Batman finds. And that's how he gets the noise of the Man-Bat. And that's so cool to me. Like, it's just good storytelling, you know what I mean? Like a quick little characterization of this guy wants to be a radio DJ and he's just working a night job as a security guard. Like, just summed up in a matter of like 30 seconds. Really well done. What do you think of the scene where we meet Gordon Bullock, Mayor Hill, and Harvey Dent all in one go?
Just so good. Like, again, this is going to be quite boring and not funny. It's just so good. And like just seeing Harvey Dent sitting there not being Two-Face and flipping a coin of just the foreshadowing of what's to come.
There's nothing wrong with liking something this much, bud. Like, people also love they love to share those feelings, and they like it just as much.
Things that made me laugh were when Bruce was like, "Oh yeah, it's a good sound I caught in my belfry," and he plays it. It's just like the most horrific sound, and the zoom in on his face as he looks around. Like, I feel like he's like immediately like trying to judge someone's face. Like, do you know what the fuck this is? I bet you fucking do, right?
Yeah,
he's like acting all coy.
I have the same thing in my notes. His shifty eyes are like, which one of you is the Man-Bat? Like, he plays that and he's just like looking at all of them so intensely and shifting his eyes around. That was really funny. So I like this meeting with Gordon Bullock, Hill, and Harvey Dent because it makes sense. Like, they're influencers of keeping the city safe. And obviously there's now this, potential Batman is a bad guy. And I assume Batman hasn't been operating for very long by the way they're all talking about him.
No, he's an enigma at this point.
Yeah, so very year one again.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, and as you said, Harvey Dent flipping his coin is just such a beautiful little
It did confuse my wife though, because she saw the coin flip and she was like, "Wait, he just said Harvey. Like, that guy's Harvey Dent." I was like, "Yeah, that's Harvey Dent." She's like, the Fred Flintstone looking motherfucker. I was like, "No, that's Harvey Bullock." I was like, "Oh yeah, Harvey and Harley Bullock." Like, I guess you can get.
Oh well, yeah, okay, fair dues.
Then she was like, "Oh,
Gordon,
who is that? Fucking silver fox hunk of meat in the corner."
So the first line we ever hear Kevin Conroy say as Batman in the show is, "Gotham police declare war on Batman." And like, just hearing his Batman voice for the first time, obviously I didn't do it any justice there, was just great. I was like, oh, and you're in the Batcave and you hear those, like, the hum of the computers, the bats screeching around. Like, what did you think of that whole Batcave scene?
I love it. I mean, I feel like a broken record here, but when I was drawing that Batman book, the first one I did, like, all my influence was, the first thing I went to was like, all right, how did Bruce Timm do the Batcave? How did Bruce Timm do this? How did Bruce Timm do that? And that was always my go-to immediately for how, like, what's the vibe I need to get? Because it's just, this is the perfect adaptation of the character. And it's crazy to have what I would say is widely considered to be like people's quintessential version of a long-running serialized character.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's all great, bud. It's all gravy.
Well, we'll just keep on praising it. There's nothing wrong with that.
We get this podcast very good. What do you think? I thought it was great. All right, see you next week. Then when we get to like the guy living in the sewers with children or whatever.
Oh yeah, or I've got Batman in my basement. That's another.
I remember
one.
liking Batman in my basement as a kid, so we'll see how I feel now.
We'll see how it holds up. We get a beautiful and really long bit of animation showing off the Batmobile. We see obviously the Batmobile for the first time.
It's glistening as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and they really put like effort into that animation to be like,
you want to buy this toy, don't you?
Yes,
I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah, exactly. I did see though when it drove down the windy roads, it curves slightly, like it follows the roads, and it looks it looks rubber. But hey, man, it's fucking iconic.
Got a super futuristic car. I might do that.
Yeah. And then we get the Danny Elfman Batman theme when he fires his bat grapple gun for the first time. We hear that sound, which is now just like, that is the only sound I hear for his bat grapple. Oh, it's so good. It is weird though. This is a little critique of me that he used like a zipline bar to go down that rope. I'm like, He travels down it, and I'm like, where the fuck did you get that bar from? It was clear.
It's fun though.
I guess, but like, just swing on the bat grapple, right? Like, I love seeing that. That was interesting that they chose to go that. But anyway, it's still great to see the bat grapple for the first time. Another great bit of storytelling is those lab technicians sneaking off for a smooch, and they spot Batman, which obviously they call the cops.
The way it was shot, it reminded me of English politics with that guy in the Conservative Party that got busted, like, hooking up with another member of the Conservative Party. Do you remember that?
I do know who you're talking about.
I can't remember the names of them, but yeah, the guy got sacked majorly for doing that shit.
Yeah,
the shot of it, I was like, I was looking at it like, oh damn. My wife was like, oh. That's going on.
Yeah, like they're married.
She also said, she's like, so this was made before the Spider-Man show? Because she's like, the Spider-Man show looks really budget compared to this.
Yeah, they put all the money into that. They just had, they had such a great.
It's not just money; it's passion and artistic. Like they're coming up with using pure black for the backgrounds and all this other stuff. Like it's fucking great.
It's fucking great. So when Batman knocks out the security guard with the knockout gas, I pause to see what book she's reading, and apparently the title of the book she's reading is "P.S. Your dog is gone." Like, what is that book about? What is it? What is
Just
it
a friendly
about?
reminder: your dog's dead.
Yeah, like or run away. And why are you reading a book about it? Really weird. Then we get another series of like amazing animated shots of showing off what the police cars and the SWAT vehicle looks like in Gotham, and what the SWAT team members look like. I thought the SWAT vehicle looked like a giant battering ram. Like that's how it's designed.
I love that SWAT vehicle.
I brought it up because I'm pretty sure I remember you saying that you loved that years ago.
I love that vehicle so much. It's just so sleek. It's literally like what's the word I'm looking for? What's the art design of the Gotham City? What's the name of it?
What they
Art Deco.
Yeah, but they call it Dark Deco for the
yeah. I just feel like that's Art Deco on wheels, like the way that's
Yeah.
moving. I just love it.
Yeah, that's cool. I laugh really hard when the SWAT team comes out there in single file and they're like, hup, 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 hup,
Yeah.
hup, hup.
I like you, knuckleheads.
I like how Gordon was just like, you sure he's in there, Bullock? And Bullock's like, yeah, the chopper just spotted him on the 4th floor. And he's like, well, our guy has just been spotted over there and he can't be in 2 places at once.
Yeah, I love the subtlety of just Gordon just constantly like, I've got this dude's back. But you know what I really weirdly liked was the fucking SWAT guys in the building and the one that pulls like the pin with his mouth and his stupid grin.
Yeah.
He chucks it in.
Let's smoke him out.
Yeah. I was like, I love this.
Yeah. My next question is, what did you think of a Batman escaping the SWAT team scene? And there you go.
Great.
It's so good. There's a tiny
show is great.
There's a tiny little throwaway scene for me in this episode, but I fucking love it so much, and I have to mention it. So Batman rappels down the elevator shaft. He's like escaping the SWAT team, and he gets to the top of the elevator and he opens up the top hatch to get in the elevator, right? Mm-hmm. And the way that they animate him slipping in through the hatch, and he does it so seamlessly and so quietly, and all you see last is his cape is the last thing to go through, and it's like a snake slither or something. It's just the way he does it. I'm just like, that's so fucking cool. Like, I don't know why. It just, when I saw it, I was like, God, that's so cool. So what do you think of the Gotham Zoo and like Bruce trying to find like out who did this with the bats and everything else?
It's great. I was like, oh shit, this is like just what I drew in the Batman story I did with the reptiles going to the Gotham Zoo to try and figure out who's behind this.
Oh my God.
It's like the same exact thing.
That's right. It looked a lot like the abandoned circus in Batman Returns as well, the penguin layer. It looked a lot like that, which I thought was probably on purpose. This is the first time we see Bruce Wayne as well, obviously. What do you think of the voice? I loved that scene where he switches between Batman and Bruce Wayne on the phone.
Yeah, it's just jarring to see Batman full costume being like, okie dokie, I'll see you at the next fundraiser.
Yeah, that was, yeah. But it's just showing off his chops. I thought that was great. And then Alfred's got some jokes in this. Like you said, I didn't realize you'd taken up listening to rock and roll, sir.
It's a great joke.
Yeah, so like I thought there was this moment with Langstrom in the shadows. And he's clearly now they've shown him as the Man-Bat, and he's like, can't fight it, it's got me, which made me think of our mother whenever she like needed to go to the toilet and she said, it's got me. Like, it's got me. But there's this really amazing bit of animation where Batman is talking to Langstrom and he's telling him his evil villainous plot, and he walks behind all of like the chemical beakers and his face distorts. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't change his color because the chemicals are different colors. And I was like, fucking hell, you guys like put in so much
it's extra
great talent. Yeah. So yeah, massive shout out to like Kurt Gader, who's the storyboard artist for this episode, and the animation team for all of the hard work that they did. It's just awesome. So yeah, I've got a scene. We'll do this later, but do you have love that Batman scene out of this episode? which is definitely the scene where, we think Batman is the coolest. If you do, keep it in mind. I just thought I'd put it in your brain before we get to that segment.
When he's detectiving, it's not a word, I know, but when he's detectiving with the goggles on, I just loved it, and he's just looking around. I know it's not even that impressive, but to me, I love it.
All right, well, I made a little jingle, so we'll do the jingle.
Okay.
Love that.
And then, okay, so your scene is the Detective Batman in this episode. My Love That Batman scene is when Langstrom comes into the lab and he's like, "Who's there?" And you just see Batman rise up out of the shadows, and you just see his eyes open, and you're like, "Fucking hell!"
That's the one. Yeah, yours is the one. Yeah.
It's not a contest. We can have different ones.
No, we'll make it a contest. You win this one.
So let's talk about the Man-Bat transformation scene, yeah? As a kid, it terrified me. Absolutely terrified me. And I found a name for my fear, which is people turning into animals, which is therianthropy. Therianthropy. Yeah, therianthropy is the name of the fear.
Animals must have fucked you up as a kid.
I mean, and I think that this episode was the start of that, along with
I wouldn't be surprised. You were like 5 when it came out,
because I saw this before Spider-Man, definitely. And yeah, him turning into the Man-Bat, he's like, "It's in me, Batman," and then like the laugh as he's just like, as he's transforming, the more he transformed, the more the laugh just gets like more and more cackly and evil. And he's like, "Wah ha ha!" as he like his eyes turn yellow. Dude, watch.
It doesn't do any. I just think it's cool. It doesn't scare me.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm not like, I'm scared, but like I just remember being a kid. I remember being a kid and being scared. And seeing that animation sequence again now, I'm like, no wonder I was fucking scared. That is some crazy animation to show in a kid's cartoon.
Yeah, if you're pussy.
There's the lab fight scene with Man-Bat and Batman as he confronts the Man-Bat for the first time. And there's something so cool about this dude. Like, Man-Bat is obviously too powerful for Batman. He shows that in that scene. He flies out the window, and even though Batman's like on the floor and he's just been knocked the fuck down, He can't fly either. Without any hesitation, he just back grapples onto the foot of the Man-Bat, and he's like, "All right, here I go." And I'm just like, that's Batman. I'm probably going to lose, but fuck it. I'm not going to give up. It's just awesome. So as we near the end of the episode, we got Bullock and Gordon in the blimp. They spot the Man-Bat. Obviously, we've got that amazing animation sequence that we were talking about earlier. The chase is really cool throughout the city. The Man-Bat is blinded temporarily by Batman, hits a wall, gets knocked out. And I felt like this is where they really sped up the episode, and they were kind of like, all right, we got to wrap this up now. Did you feel that?
It did end a bit abruptly, yeah.
Yeah, because he goes back to the Batcave, and Alfred does have a great line, which is "2 for dinner, sir," which was quite good. And then, he's like, "I figured out how to cure him, Alfred," and then takes him back.
The answer is a chair. I just figured it out.
Takes him back to his wife, and that's the end of the first episode. And my only question is, why didn't he take Langstrom to the police after he cured him?
Well, but I guess is he doing any criminal activity as this Bat?
Well, he was robbing pharmaceutical companies to get more of the toxin or the chemicals.
Right. Yeah, well, that is true.
And he was terrorizing people as well.
But again, like he could have brought them there, and then that guy would have been like, "All right, prove it." And they're like, "Well, we can't. Batman told us." And they'd be like, "Well, see you fucking later then. Bye."
I guess, but he's kind of like, "Here you go, Francine, he's cured for now." He says it's over for now, and I'm like, Batman, are you going to take that chance, buddy?
Yeah, no, that's true. That is weird.
I thought that was a bit weird, but other than that, fantastic first episode. Like, as we said at the beginning, really solid, considering all that they had to accomplish with this, introducing us to a whole new Batman, a Gotham, all of Batman's allies, a bunch of other characters, and a C-list villain that really stood out in this episode. Like, this is the first villain of this show, and is the most memorable Man-Bat I've ever seen, and like is definitely the definitive Man-Bat every time I think about that character. This episode, like it did a lot. It influenced me a lot too. When we were doing our little fan stories and writing Batman stories, we had like Kirk Langstrom working in Arkham Asylum, if you remember, and like
Yes.
I just pulled from this episode when I was writing that scene.
He was
So I was like,
studying the bats that like lived in the belfries of Arkham.
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's a fun little story.